So here's the document we're going to create. I'm going to run through the structure of the document and some elements of it, and then we're going to create this document from scratch. So first of all, the document's structured to have a cover page, and on the cover page you can see that we've named the institution that we're at, we've named the actual report, we've given it a student a unit number and unit name, and we've identified who it's for, in this case a lecturer, and we've put our student name and number. The second page is a contents page. The contents page outlines everything that's in the document. You'll also notice at the bottom of the contents page there's a student name and number repeated, and also a page number. Now the next section is the main body of the document. So we started off with an introduction and a paragraph. Then we have paragraph 1 with its own heading. Then we have paragraph 2. Now paragraph 2 also has subheadings above each of its paragraphs. So does paragraph 3, and it has subheadings as well. And finally we have our conclusion. At the end of the document, most importantly, we have our references, and in this case we're using APA, so we've got a hanging indent for our references. You'll notice that all the pages are still student name and number, and they're all numbered. Now the font that we've used throughout the report is Times New Roman, and the standard size of the font in the body sections, so the elements that are being read, or the sections that are being read, is Times New Roman 12. The headings I've set to Times New Roman 14 bold, and the subheadings I've set to Times New Roman 12 bold. You'll also notice that the main content has extra spacing. So this has had double spacing applied, which makes it easier for a lecturer to read and make edits on. And you'll also notice there's a margin either side, and a margin at the top and a margin at the bottom of the document as well, which is good for the lecturer for writing in. The references are slightly different. They're not double spaced. They do have a hanging indent, and the header is exactly the same. So the heading is the same, Times New Roman 14 bold, and the font style is still 12. Now the cover page itself, these are all 12 elements, and none of them are bolded. The only element that's larger is the title, and it's been set to 26. So other than that, the document is fairly standard, and you can see when I zoom out, the document, when you look at it as a whole, it's nice, it's neat and tidy and professional looking, because the whole thing is consistent. Okay, so how do we make this document? Well, let's get started. So first of all, we simply start with a blank document. So go File, New, and then we're just going to start with a blank document. Now once you've made this document, of course, you can then save it as a template and keep reusing it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put all our components in. So we know that we're going to have an introduction. So we know we're going to have an introduction. Now you can see already that this computer is set to the default font is set to Calibra. So I'm going to change that straight away so that it makes it easier. Now this is a really good thing to know. If I go up into here and type Times New Roman, it comes up. Now I want this to be the size of my main text. So I changed the size to 12, that's what we wanted. And you'll notice over here, it's currently highlighting saying this is normal text. So I'm going to set this to being my main body text. And to do it, I simply right click and set on here, update normal to match my new selection. So now, all normal text will be Times New Roman 12. So now I can move on and type in my paragraphs. Now I know you don't want to see me typing all of these, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop it and just add all of these in. Okay, so I've got all the paragraphs in. Remember in our first document I said that the paragraph 1 didn't have subheadings, whereas paragraph 2 and 3 did. So the last thing we've got to add now is our conclusion, and then we're going to add our references. Now you might say, well, you haven't done anything yet and you haven't done any formatting. That's correct, because in actual fact when you first start making a document, you don't really need to worry too much about the formatting. It's more important to get your content in. What I'm doing here though is I'm setting it up so that when the content goes in, it's going in the way I want it to start. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some text to make up my document. Now I've already got that in my other document, so I'm simply going to bring it across and copy and paste it. But in your case, you would be typing into these sections. Now you'll also notice this would help you when you're writing an essay or a report, because you're actually constructing your document as you're going. Okay, so now I've completed adding the content for my document, and you can see if you have a look at the document, the whole document is still only one font and one size. Now the one thing that I haven't finished is I haven't added my references. Now luckily for me, as I was going through doing my research, I also kept another document that I put my references into. I'm going to copy out my references. And I just simply right click to grab those, change to my document and paste in my references. Okay, so there we go. So now I have the structure or all of the content that I need for my document. So now let's start putting in all the pieces. So we need a cover page, we need a contents page. So let's put the cover page in first. Now one of the elements that you may not know about is this element here, and what it is it shows the paragraph mark, but what it actually does is it shows all the formatting symbols that are in your document. So when you turn it on, you can actually see where all your spaces are, where your tabs are, and where your returns are. So I like to, when I'm doing formatting, have that on, because if we zoom in, you can see now that we can see where our paragraph marks are. So let's insert our cover page. Now most importantly, our cover page has got to go in front of our introduction. So we go to the Insert tab, Cover Page. Now this will give us different formats that are pre-done. We can also go online to more cover pages, but I'm just going to use a nice simple one, which is this one here called Sideline, and I'm going to add that. So there is my cover page added. Now you remember in my document it looked a little bit different, so we'll come back and format this in a minute, but for now we'll leave it as it is with that default element in there. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is we need to add a contents page. So if we go to the References tab and go to Table of Contents, this is where we can pick up our table of contents. So I'm just going to use a standardized contents page, and I'll click and I'll add that. Now it's telling me that it's got nothing to add, but that's okay. I know that because I haven't set any headers yet. So I'll just say OK, and it adds no table contents. That's fine. The problem I've got though are these are on the same page. So easy way to get this page to separate it off onto its own page is go back to Insert and insert a page break. So instead of having to do enter, enter, enter or return, return to push the content down, I just simply add a page break. So now we've got our structure in place. So if you remember our first document, we have a look at it. We had a cover, contents, main body, and references. So far in the last few minutes, we've got our So we've now got our cover, contents, main body, and references. Now our references need to be on their own page. So using exactly the same technique that we move the contents page, we simply insert in front of the references, like so, insert page break, and the references are now on their own page. So at this stage we're looking pretty good. We've got most of the stuff that we need. So now we're going to go through and we're going to start formatting our headings. So we go back to the home page and we can see here we've got heading formatting here. So I'll click Introduction and I'm going to make Introduction heading 1. Now you can see that heading 1 is font is Cambria. Now I don't want to use Cambria as my font. I want to use Times New Roman. So I can simply click in this box, type Times, New Roman comes up, and if I want it to be bigger or smaller, I can also change the size. So in this case, I'm going to make it size 14, and I'm quite happy with it staying bold. So now I've actually changed this one here. So this heading is now changed to my formatting. If I go down to the next one and click heading, you'll notice it's reset itself back to the format of this heading. But I want all of my headings to be the same as this one. There is an easy way to change that heading. Select the heading, highlight it all, go up to the heading, right click, and at the very top it says update heading to match your selected. That's what I want to do. I'll update that, and you'll notice down here this one is now changed to match. So we just go through now and we'll add all of the heading ones, and we'll even add for our conclusion heading 1 and our references. Okay, so now we've got all our heading 1 set up. Now what I'll show you now is when I go back to the contents page and click on it, and the option here is update field. So if I click update, what happens is it now looks for any headings, and you can see it's found all of the heading 1s. Introduction, paragraph 1, 2 and 3, conclusion and references. I can also now change this if I want to. So I can check to see what font this is. It's all Times New Roman, that's great. I want to change this colour to black. There's no point in it being blue. I'm going to print it in black and white anyway. Okay, so now we've got our contents page starting to fill out. Now, in our first document, we had our conclusion page starting on a different page to the paragraphs. Now, this is why you would use this technique for making a contents page, because we now can go down to the conclusion, put our cursor in front of it, insert a break, and it's now moved down to its own page. So now if we go back to the contents page and do the same thing again and update, it says, do you want to update numbers or the entire table? We'll just update the entire table, and you'll notice the conclusion page is now on page 5. So there's none of that having to do it manually. Okay, we're just going to format now our subheadings, and so in here I want to use heading 2. Now you can see heading 2 is bold and italic, and it's Cambria again. So I don't want it italic and I don't want it Cambria, so I change the font and I want the size to be 12. So now I've set my font. I'll do the same as what I did before, update that so it'll match, and then I can update this one to be a heading 2, and a heading 2. Now I've added those in, which means now I can update my contents again. And there's our new elements in our contents page. So you can see this is a really efficient way to do a contents page. Okay, so we're almost there. Now, you might ask me, well, how did you do this? When you select your content, you'll notice in here we've got a paragraph mark. Now, one of the elements of a paragraph is you can have indentation. Now all I've done is set, so every time there's a new paragraph, it starts with a hanging indent. If I turn this to none, you'll see that it resets itself to be level on the left. If I go back and go paragraph mark and do a hanging indent, then it will hang like so. So that's how I set that. You'll also notice that this has normal spacing. And remember I said in our other document, we wanted to set all of this so it was double spaced. So if we look in paragraph, at the moment it's set to double space. That's fine. You can set it double single spacing here. Alright, so if your document's not double spaced, so if this paragraph was singly spaced, which is what it would the standard would be, it would look like this versus that. So you can see how much easier this is to read than this. This is why they often request it to be double spaced. So to double space your text, simply highlight it, right click, paragraph, double spacing, click OK. So we're almost there. We've got main format done, got the reference page and conclusion in place. So we're just going to finish this bit off. So in our example we had my university. So I can now type in here, my university. We can type the name of our document, essay or report. Now you'll notice I don't have enough fields down here to keep adding the next part. So we had unit name and number. Now we needed a few more for our lecturer, and our name and our student number. So what we can do is if we go to layout, we can insert more rows underneath. So we can say the lecturer, and I can put my name and my student number. And then we have it, that's filled in. So we've got that completed. Now the only thing is, in this particular template, it also puts this element down the bottom. Now I don't want this element, so all I need to do is, because it's a table, I can click on it, press delete, and that element will delete. Now the last thing that I want to do is put in my student name and number along the bottom in the footers, and I want to add page numbers. I'm going to add student number and name on the bottom with a page number. Now it's important when you do this that when you add those, I don't want it to be on the cover page because I've already got that information here. So what you do is you double click down the bottom of the document and it opens up this, footers. You'll notice, and this is the reason why I said you don't want to do this on the first page, because up here it says different first page. What that means is whatever we put in here will be different to what's in this section. So in this section here we're going to insert page number. I'm going to put them on the bottom right. Then I'm going to type in my student name and my student number. Okay, if I close that and have a look, I've got page numbers, student name and number, and that will run through all of the document right to the very end. And if I go to my home page, or my cover page, it's currently got a number in here, so I go in here and I just want to delete that. But you'll see that it hasn't deleted it from here. And that's it. So that's it. We've now formatted our document. We've got our contents page. We've got our main body all set up. We've got our conclusion page and we've got our references. So thanks for taking the time. At the end of this, I'm going to show you how quickly this gets done when I don't need to actually do the talking, and I'll just go through the process. The process itself only takes a couple of minutes.